powered by artificial intelligence.
Microsoft is fundamentally changing how it secures the bedrock of its ecosystem by formally verifying Rust cryptography within SymCrypt. To understand why this matters, you have to understand the gap in security. Usually, developers write code based on a mathematical standard, but the actual production code is messy. It's filled with bit manipulations, SIMD intrinsics, and architecture-specific optimizations to make it fast. Testing can find bugs, but it can't prove a bug doesn't exist. That is where formal verification comes in. Microsoft Research says they are now using a combination of the Rust programming language, the Lean Proof framework, and a toolchain called Aeneas to bridge this gap. The process works in layers. First, they write the implementation in safe Rust, which automatically eliminates broad classes of memory safety bugs. Then, they use Aeneas to translate a large subset of that Rust code into Lean, where they can create machine-checked mathematical proofs that the code actually implements the standard correctly. They've already put this into practice. Microsoft has open-sourced a SymCrypt branch containing the specifications and proofs for SHA-3 and MLKEM. These aren't just lab experiments. Microsoft states this code is being used in Windows Insider's builds today. They are also expanding this workflow to We are seeing a serious attempt to build an open-source alternative to CapCut through a project called OpenCut. For those who aren't tracking the creator economy, CapCut has essentially become the default operating system for short-form video, dominating the pipeline from TikTok to Reels. But because it's a closed ecosystem, creators are locked into a specific set of tools and proprietary algorithms. Now, according to the project's GitHub repository, OpenCut is positioning itself as a free, open-source video editor designed to work across web, desktop, and mobile. The project has already gained significant traction, clocking in at over 66,000 stars and 7,000 forks. However, the most critical piece of news here is that OpenCut is currently being rewritten from the ground up. The team is moving toward a Rust core to allow them to maintain a single codebase that serves desktop, mobile, and browser users simultaneously. They aren't just building a timeline and a trimmer, they are building an editor API and a plugin-first architecture to allow third-party developers to extend the tool's capabilities. Most interestingly, they are implementing an MCP server specifically for AI agents and a headless mode for batch rendering and automation. HKUDS has released Vibe Trading, a personal trading agent designed to bridge the gap between academic research and active market execution. To understand why this is hitting the scene now, you have to look at the current state of AI agents. We've moved past simple chatbots. We are now in the era of agentic workflows where AI doesn't just suggest a trade, but manages the entire lifecycle of a strategy, from reading a research paper to monitoring the decay of a signal. According to the project's GitHub repository, Vibe Trading is positioning itself as a comprehensive toolkit. One of its most significant recent additions is the Strategy Development Manager. This isn't just a folder for scripts, it's a system that takes academic papers or broker research and converts them into registered factors and strategies. It uses a persistent artifact store and automated monitoring to track IC and sharp decay, meaning the agent can actually tell you when a specific trading vibe or strategy is losing its edge and needs to be disabled. The technical scope here is surprisingly broad. They've integrated first-class support for Indian equities via a dedicated India equity engine, handling complex local requirements like T+1 delivery, circuit bands, and a full stack of SEBI and GST costs. On the security front, they just closed 10 external audit findings. This included hardening their backtest. moeru-ai has released Project airi, a self-hosted SOL container designed to create a digital companion capable of more than just chatting. To understand why this is surfacing now, you have to look at the current state of AI companionship. We have plenty of text-based roleplay tools like Character.ai or Silly Tavern, but there is a massive gap between a chatbot and a digital human, an entity that can actually see your screen, play a game with you, and exist as a persistent presence on your OS. Project airi is an open-source attempt to replicate the capabilities of Neurosama, the famous AI VTuber. This isn't just a wrapper for a LLM, it is a full-stack environment. The project supports real-time voice chat and, more impressively, the ability to play games like Minecraft and Factorio. Technically, the project is a hybrid. It leverages a suite of web technologies, WebGPU, WebAssembly, and WebSockets to handle graphics and layout. However, to avoid the performance bottlenecks of a browser, the desktop versions for Windows and macOS bypass the web layer for heavy lifting, utilizing native NVIDIA CUDA and Apple Metal via the Candle project to run models locally. They've even built out a dedicated ecosystem of sub-projects for RAG, memory systems, and Live2D utilities to ensure these characters feel like persistent beings rather than session-based bots. There is a massive new open-source resource hitting GitHub called awesome-llm-apps, a repository designed to move AI development from theoretical prompts to actual shipped products. For the last year, the industry has been flooded with wrappers, simple interfaces that just pass text to an LLM. But we are now entering the era of the AI agent, where the goal isn't just to chat, but to execute complex workflows, manage memory, and interact with external tools. This repository arrives at the exact moment developers are struggling to bridge the gap between a basic API call and a production-ready agent. The repository, created by Shubhamsaboo, isn't a curated list of links to other people's work, it is a cookbook of original, hand-built templates. The claim here is that any of these apps can be run in just 3 commands: cloning the repo, installing requirements, and running the script. The scope is surprisingly broad. It covers everything from starter AI agents, which are single-file apps like an AI travel agent or a meme generator, to advanced AI agents that handle multi-step reasoning. We're seeing highly specific implementations here: an insurance claim live agent team using Gemini Live for voice intake, and a project graveyard skill that analyzes abandoned side projects to tell you why they died. Crucially, the codebase is provider agnostic. The repo claims you can switch. Nutlope has released a new design skill called Hallmark, specifically engineered to stop AI-generated websites from looking like AI slop. For a long time, we've all noticed a pattern: whether you use Claude, Cursor, or Codex, the UI they spit out tends to look identical. It's that same generic, clean, modern SaaS aesthetic that feels sterile and predictable. Hallmark is designed to break that cycle by forcing the AI to abandon its default training. According to the project's GitHub repository, Hallmark is a design skill compatible with Claude Code, Cursor, and Codex. It doesn't just give the AI a prompt, it implements a rigorous protocol. The system picks a macro structure for a brief and dresses it in one of 20 distinct themes. To ensure the output doesn't fall back into those generic patterns, Hallmark runs the code through 57 slop test gates and a pre-emit self-critique. The tool operates through 4 primary verbs. Build creates new UI from scratch. Audit scores existing code against known AI anti-patterns without making edits. Redesign keeps the copy and brand but throws out the structure to give the site a different fingerprint. Finally, Study allows the AI to extract the DNA, like type pairing and color anchors, from a URL or screenshot, though the repo explicitly states it refuses to create pixel clones or use paid templates. Now, let's talk about what this actually means for the industry. We are entering a phase of AI fatigue where users can spot a generated layout in milliseconds. When every landing page uses the same Tailwind defaults and the same rounded corner buttons, the perceived value of the product drops. Hallmark is an admission that the on-distribution defaults LLMs were trained on are now a liability. The real tension here is between efficiency and identity. The reason AI slop exists is that it's the most statistically probable correct answer. By implementing 57 gates to filter out that probability, Hallmark is essentially fighting the very nature of how LLMs work. It's trying to force the model to be weird or specific rather than average. The most interesting part is the custom mode, which only triggers when a brief has creative intent that the 20 themes can't match. We are looking at a project called Win11-debloat, a tool designed to strip away the layers of bloatware and telemetry that come baked into the modern Windows experience. For years, power users have complained that Windows installs too many apps you don't want and tracks too much data you can't easily stop. As Microsoft pushes more AI integration and suggested content into the OS, the friction between the company's goals and the user's desire for a clean machine has hit a breaking point. According to the project's GitHub repository, Win11-debloat is a lightweight PowerShell script that works for both Windows 10 and Windows 11. It isn't a traditional piece of software you install, it's a script that executes commands to modify the system. It allows users to remove pre-installed apps, disable telemetry, and remove intrusive interface elements. Technically, it offers 3 ways to run: a quick method via a single PowerShell command that downloads and launches the script directly, a traditional method using a .bat file, and an advanced method for those who want to manually set their execution policy to unrestricted before running the .ps1 file. The scope of what it targets is extensive. It doesn't just delete apps, it targets privacy by disabling diagnostic data, app launch tracking, and targeted ads. Most notably, it now targets the new AI frontier, allowing users to disable and remove Microsoft Copilot, Windows Recall, and Click to Do, while preventing the AI service known as WSI Fabric SVC from starting automatically. It even goes. Graphify-Labs has released a new AI coding assistance skill called Graphify that turns entire project folders into queryable knowledge graphs. For the last few years, the standard for AI coding has been RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, which basically means the AI searches for a relevant snippet of text and hopes it's the right one. But as projects grow, grepping through files becomes inefficient. Graphify is attempting to move us away from vector indexes and toward a structured, traversable map of a codebase. According to the project's GitHub repository, Graphify doesn't just index your code, it maps everything from SQL schemas and our scripts to PDFs, images, and videos into a single graph. The technical mechanism here is critical. For code, it uses treesitter AST abstract syntax trees, which means the parsing is deterministic and happens entirely locally. Nothing leaves your machine during the code mapping phase. For non-code assets like docs or video, it performs a semantic pass using your assistance model or an API key. Once the graph is built, you get 3 outputs: a clickable HTML file for visual exploration, a JSON file for querying, and a markdown report highlighting God nodes, the most connected concepts in your system. You can then run commands like Graphify Path to trace the exact hops between 2 distant functions or Graphify Explain to see every connection a specific node has. Crucially, every edge in the graph is tagged as either extracted, meaning it was explicit in the source, or inferred. A new, comprehensive fitness dataset has surfaced on GitHub that provides a ready-to-use data layer for anyone building health and wellness applications. For years, developers building workout apps have struggled with a cold start problem. They have the code for the app, but they don't have a standardized, clean library of exercises to populate it. This usually means manually scraping data or paying for expensive proprietary APIs. The exercises-dataset repository by hasaneyldrm aims to solve this by open-sourcing the exact data layer used by the LogPress app, an AI-assisted workout tracker. The scale here is significant. The repository contains 1,324 unique exercises. Each entry isn't just a name, it's a full data object including the primary muscle group, the specific target muscle, supporting synergist muscles, and the required equipment. To make this globally viable, the creator has provided step-by-step instructions in 9 different languages, including English, Chinese, Hindi, and Korean. But the real value is in the media. Every single one of those 1,324 exercises comes with a 180 by 180 pixel thumbnail and a corresponding animation GIF, credited to Jim Visual. What this actually means is that the barrier to entry for AI fitness has just dropped. GitHub has released spec-kit, an open-source toolkit designed to shift the focus of software creation from manual coding to what they call spec-driven development. For years, the industry has treated specifications as static documents, basically blueprints that developers read once and then discard while they do the actual work of writing code. GitHub is attempting to flip that script. They are proposing a world where the specification isn't just a guide, but is actually executable, meaning the spec itself generates the working implementation. To make this work, GitHub has introduced the Specify CLI, which users install via the UV tool. Once installed, the workflow moves through a very specific, rigid pipeline. First, you use a command called /speckit.constitution to establish the governing principles of the project, things like testing standards and performance requirements. From there, you don't start coding. You use /speckit.specify to describe what you want to build and why, specifically avoiding technical jargon. For example, you might describe a photo album app with drag-and-drop functionality without mentioning a single programming language. Only after the what is defined do you move to /speckit.plan to define the tech stack, like using Vite and SQLite, and then use /speckit.tasks to break that plan into actionable items. Finally, Corey Haynes has released a specialized collection of AI agent skills designed to turn coding agents into technical marketers. For the last year, we've seen AI agents move from simple chat boxes to tools that can actually write and execute code in your terminal. But there is a gap. These agents are great at Python or React, but they don't inherently know the difference between a high-converting landing page and a bad one. That is where this project comes in. This is a public repository on GitHub called MarketingSkills, and it is specifically built for technical marketers and founders using tools like Claude Code, Cursor, Windsurf, or OpenAI Codex. The mechanism here is based on the agent skills spec. Instead of just giving an AI a long prompt, Haynes has created a library of markdown files. These files act as specialized knowledge modules. When an agent sees a marketing task, it references these files to apply specific frameworks for things like conversion rate optimization, SEO, and growth engineering. The architecture is hierarchical. At the base is a product marketing skill. Every other skill in the library, whether it's for A/B testing, cold emails, or churn prevention, is designed to check that foundation first. This ensures the AI understands the product, the audience, and the positioning before it suggests a single line of copy or a change to. DoorDash is fundamentally changing how it catalogs the world's food by implementing what they call LLM juries to generate high-quality metadata. For any delivery platform, the struggle has always been the cold start problem. When a new restaurant joins, the platform often lacks the granular data needed to help customers find exactly what they want, like specific dietary tags or flavor profiles. To solve this, DoorDash is moving away from relying solely on manual entry or single model guesses. They've developed a system where multiple large language models act as a jury to determine the correct metadata for a dish. Instead of one AI making a call, the system prompts several models to analyze the item. If the models agree, the metadata is accepted. If they A new project on GitHub called MemStitch is claiming to virtually eliminate the pre-fill wait time for multi-agent AI workflows by stitching together memory caches at the GPU level. To understand why this matters, you have to understand the pre-fill problem. When you feed a massive document, say, a 200-page contract, into an LLM, the GPU has to process that entire text to create a KV cache, which is essentially the model's short-term memory of that document. In a multi-agent setup, if Agent A analyzes the contract for legal risks and then Agent B analyzes the same contract for financial risks, standard engines like vLLM usually force Agent B to reprocess that entire 200-page document from scratch. It is a massive waste of compute and time. MemStitch, developed by Dakula Lin, changes this by implementing what they call zero-copy context bridging. Instead of recalculating the cache, MemStitch uses context topological hashing. It breaks prompts into physical block sizes and maps them to cryptographic fingerprints using Merkle chains. When agent becomes along with the same document, the system recognizes the fingerprint and performs zero-copy block stitching. Essentially, it maps agent B's logical attention table directly to the physical GPU memory address where agent A's cache already lives. The performance claims here are aggressive. In benchmarks involving consecutive agents processing a shared 200-page document, MemStitch reports reducing the time to first token, or TTFT, from 1,200 milliseconds down to just 48 milliseconds. That is a 25-fold speedup in response time.